Can you reuse visual data responsibly? Imagine you are studying how people portray food, bodies, and everyday life on social media. You find an existing visual dataset online. Can you simply download it and start coding? Not really. Being publicly available does not automatically mean that visual data can be reused. Before downloading, combining, analyzing, or republishing anything, you need to check whether the reuse is legal, ethical, appropriate, and suitable for your research question. So, how can researchers reuse visual data responsibly throughout the research lifecycle? In the conceptual phase, before creating new visual materials, ask whether an existing dataset could work for your project. Reusing data can save time and resources, but it requires an early assessment. Imagine that you find a dataset originally collected to study eating habits in different neighborhoods. First, check how the data can be accessed. Is it openly available, or does it require registration, an access request, or approval from a data access committee? Then check its license. A dataset limited to non-commercial academic research is different from one that allows broader reuse. Does the license allow you to analyze, modify, combine, or redistribute the material? But the license alone is not enough. You also need to consider the original consent. For example, the images you collected for your study on food practices may not have been intended for other unrelated purposes. It is important to ask whether participants agree to the type of reuse you are planning. Look closely at the visuals as well. Faces, usernames, shop signs, home interiors, or tagged locations may identify someone, even when the dataset initially appears anonymous. Reuse this data only if you can guarantee anonymity. Finally, check whether the repository documentation explains how, why, where, and when the images were collected, and then record all this information in the data management plan. During the analytical and interpretation phase, visual data should still be handled in line with their original access, consent, and licensing conditions. But pay attention, it could happen that, while analyzing data, you may combine social media posts about food with another dataset about local influencers. This can create new risks. A face, username, or location may seem harmless on its own, but together they may reveal someone's identity or connect personal habits to a specific person. Combining datasets can therefore raise ethical questions that were not present in the original research. Document clearly how you selected, transformed, combined, and coded visuals. Preserve enough information about their original context so that meaning is not lost during analysis. During the archiving and preservation phase, the perspective changes. Now you may be preparing to share a new dataset, such as photos taken by participants during interviews. A license tells future users what they are legally allowed to do. It does not tell them what is ethically appropriate. For this reason, guidelines for future data use should accompany the license. Explain why the images were created, what research purpose they served, and what consent participants provided. Describe how you handle identifiable people, private spaces, and other sensitive elements. State clearly which forms of future reuse are appropriate and which should be avoided. Every visual dataset carries both research value and responsibility. Responsible reuse means checking access, licensing, consent, identifiability, context, and documentation before using visual data. It also means providing future users with the information they need to interpret and reuse it responsibly. To learn more about dataset reuse and guidelines for future data use, visit codavis.org.